Hi Algebra 1. Today's video is on solving quadratic equations using factoring. This is the 9.0 video, and these notes will just go in your notebook. The first thing I want you to write down is this that's on the screen right now. It's called the fundamental theorem of algebra. It's a really big idea in algebra, okay? And the theorem says that a polynomial of degree n has exactly n solutions. So if it's degree 2, there's 2 solutions. If it's degree 4, there's going to be 4 solutions. So a couple examples at the bottom. So I guess we could call this example 1 and example 2. All right. X squared minus 3x plus 7 equals 0. That equation has 2 solutions because the degree is 2, x squared. All right, right there. In the second one, it's x to the 5th plus 3x squared plus 5 equals 0. So x to the 5th, it means it's going to have 5 solutions. So pause this if you need to copy the rest of this down. But this idea is going to be big because we can look at an equation to start and decide how many solutions it's going to have. Right? Now, sometimes those solutions are something we call imaginary. There's real numbers and imaginary numbers. All right, but the total number of solutions is going to be the same as the degree. So let's do a couple examples. Number 1, solve by factoring. So we get this equation, x squared minus 3x equals 0. All right, so it's a quadratic because it's x squared. That means it's going to have 2 solutions. Yesterday we talked about that thing called a discriminant, okay? So in this one, if we go back to thinking about ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, a is going to be 1 for this problem, b is going to be negative 3, and c is going to equal 0 because there's no c value. So when we check the discriminant, like we talked about yesterday, we do b squared minus 4ac, which would be b squared is 9 minus 4ac. Well, that's 4 times ac is going to be 0, so this is just going to be 9, right? In our notes yesterday, we talked about if it's a perfect square, okay, 9 is a perfect square, this will factor. This will factor. W-I-L, will factor. So let's do it. Let's factor this. X squared minus 3x equals 0. Well, of course it factors because it's the greatest common factor. It's a GCF problem. So I factor out x. We got x. Color's no good. We got x times x minus 3 equals 0. Okay? And then yesterday we saw the zero product property, where when you have two things multiplied together and set equal to 0, we set each one individually equal to 0. So I'm going to take x and set it equal to 0. And then I'll take x minus 3 and set it equal to 0. So I write x equals 0. Well, there's one answer right there. And then x minus 3 equals 0 would give me x equals 3. And there are my two answers, x equals 0, x equals 3. Those values for x make the equation true. All right, let's try another. This one is 4x squared plus 7x plus 3 equals 0. Once again, I wanted to start by doing a quick check of the discriminant. B squared minus 4ac. Okay, b squared is, let's write them. A equals 4, b equals 7, and c equals 3. So b squared is 7 squared, which is 49, minus 4 times ac would be 12. 4 times 3 is 12. 49 minus 48 is 40 equals 1, which is a perfect square. Perfect square. So that means this does factor. Great. I know it'll factor. All right, so we'll do 2 sets here. There is no GCF. I checked for that. 4x squared, 7x, 3. No GCF. So we could try 2 and 2. So maybe we do 2x and 2x. Don't forget the equal 0. 3 and 1. So let's try it. 3 and 1. Can I make 7 out of this? Well, my outsides are 2x. So outside, inside. My outside is 2x. My inside is 6x. that doesn't make 7x, so I need to switch. So I'll erase the 3 and the 1, and I'll switch them. So we got 1 and 3. That's not going to work either because the 2x was the same. So must be 4x and 1x. So I got to erase here. And we'll try this again. We'll go 4x and x. And if I do 3 there and 1 there, I bet you I get 7 because my outside would be 4x, my inside would be 3x. So I could do 4x plus 3, x plus 1 would give me the correct answer here. So now that I've factored it, I'm going to set each factor equal to 0. 4x plus 3 equals 0, and x plus 1 equals 0. So here I subtract 3, I get 4x equals negative 3, so x equals negative 3/4. And here I get x equals negative 1. Those are my two answers. Let's try a couple more. Number 3, 2x squared plus 6x equals 20. All right, well, first, it's not in standard form. It's not equal to 0, so I got to subtract 20 over to the other side. So we get 2x squared plus 6x minus 20 equals 0. Okay, if I do this, a equals 2, b equals 6, c equals negative 20. So my discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, would be 36 minus 4 times negative 40. That's 36 plus 160, which is 196, which is a perfect square, so this does factor. Right? And what we'll notice right away is there's a GCF of 2, so I factor the GCF out. 2 times x squared plus 3x minus 10 equals 0, and then I'll break the inside down, x and x. I need to get to 10 and add up to positive 3, so that would be plus 5 and minus 2 equals 0. And then we take each of those factors and set them equal to 0. 2 equals 0, well that's just no solution, nothing. X plus 5 equals 0 would be x equals negative 5. And then x minus 2 equals 0 would be x equals 2. So my answers are x equals negative 5 and x equals 2. All right, 2 more problems. Number 4, x squared minus 16 equals 0. Okay, we could check the discriminant. You don't have to do that every problem, but it's a good way to confirm that something does factor or how many solutions it has. This one, you look at it, x squared minus 16, hopefully looks familiar. It's a difference of squares. X and x, 4 and 4, and I gotta make 1 plus 4 and 1 minus 4. That way I multiply to negative 16 and I add up to 0, the 0x that's not written but we know is really there. Okay, so it's that. Don't forget your equals 0, and then x plus 4 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. So I get x equals negative 4, x equals positive 4. 2 answers there. Remember, you can always pause or rewind if you missed anything. Finally, we got one more problem. This one is x cubed minus 2x squared minus x plus 2 equals 0. So when I have this, the x cubed, the degree is 3, which means I should have 3 solutions. Now we do have to always remember there might be 3 solutions. Some of them might be imaginary, so we might only come up with 2, but we know there's going to be 3 total solutions. Okay, so this is a factor by grouping problem. We would make this a plus negative, and then we would group the x cubed minus 2x squared together, plus negative x plus 2 together equals 0. And we factor out the greatest common factor from each group. So I factor out x squared on the first group, and I'm left with x minus 2. And then I just factor out negative 1, and I'm left with x minus 2 equals 0. Because if I factor out negative 1, this becomes positive. 2 becomes negative. And now I can factor this off. I go x minus 2 times x squared minus 1 equals 0. But the x squared minus 1 is a difference of squares, and we saw this on the test. There's a problem where you have to keep going. So we go x minus 2, x plus 1, x minus 1 equals 0. And each of those gives you a solution. X minus 2 equals 0 would give me x equals 2, x equals negative 1, and x equals 1. X equals 1. There we go. So there's my 3 answers there. All right, that's all. Thank you for watching.